Alright, I don't have a monitor, so I don't know what I look like, but that's okay. I have altered my process. Now you get the color green. How nice. And speaking of green, it is spring. And this, of course, means leaf blowers. My favorite thing, my favorite device, my favorite object of human invention. Ugh, they're just so awful. The gasoline leaf blowers during the summer around here, you can hear them basically constantly throughout the day. There's never really a moment that goes by that you can't hear somewhere in the distance. I'm well known for my hatred of these objects for several reasons, and it's not just because they're bloody annoying, because they are. They're very loud. They're ridiculous, and they smell horrible. They basically the two-stroke ones, they shoot aerosolized gasoline, unburnt aerosolized gasoline into the air. And when my neighbor over here leaf blows his yard, the unburnt gasoline just floats up to this level, this altitude, and just into my apartment. So if I don't get the windows closed in time, this whole place is just choked in gasoline for several minutes. But on top of that, it has to do with the way that we've structured the city, the way that we structure our environments, our built environments. We have this attitude in our current culture that all dirtiness, all debris, all nature that's unsanctioned must be removed because otherwise it looks untidy. You can't have that. You can't have any leaves laying around because, oh, what will the neighbors think? But why is this bad? Why is this something that ought to be avoided? Well, for one, because it's ridiculous. It's a waste of time. There's no inherent need to get rid of leaves and debris from most places. I mean, yes, I can understand removing it from a sidewalk so that you can get by, but it is not just used on sidewalks. It's used in all cases. And especially in yards and on lawns, there is this attitude towards not allowing nature to be nature. All of our yards are clear. All of our yards are flat, uniform grass, monocultural, with basically the same ecological value as a parking lot. Certainly no biodiversity and not much room for anything other than the occasional ant to live. It doesn't feed any other insects like bees or birds, especially if you are very thorough about exterminating the weeds, dandelions, and the like. Unfortunately, this means that our bee population is plummeting. And without bees, we're not going to have a great selection of food left. Because all the fruit trees, all of the berries and whatnot, they're pollinated by bees and other pollinators like wasps and whatnot. And if we are doing so much in our power to eliminate all habitat of these animals, then the plants that depend on them will also die out. And it's already happening. This colony collapse disorder that is related to mites, it's both being caused by the pesticides that are getting rid of other insects, are also getting rid of the bees, but also just a lack of food. They're exhausted from going from place to place, trying just to find enough flowers to get enough nectar to feed themselves and the rest of the hive. And what's worse, a lot of the flowers that one finds in a garden have been treated with pesticides themselves to keep out other bugs, which causes them to bring pesticides back to the hive. This general attitude we have in our society about the way that we have to keep our yards, our properties, it is unambiguously detrimental to nature. And yes, there are natural environs out there where, I keep my lawn up and the bees can go somewhere else, but there's much less of that than there used to be. Even the natural areas around this area, like this used to be a hardwood forest, as thick as anything, as far as the eye can see, with meadows and savannas and whatnot all around. Now it's mostly parking lot and lawn and farm fields, and the few remaining sections of untouched wilderness are hemmed in on all sides by subdivisions. and segmented for that matter, with roads going through that and trails and whatnot else. And segmented wildernesses don't do very well because the wilderness is an interconnected system. And without those interconnections, it does not work. You may have noticed that the trees in the city don't live nearly as long as they do out in the country. You get a median tree plunked in 1 year, and then in a decade or two, it's cut back down again because it's died. It's reached the end of its life. And it's because, well, A, it doesn't get enough water being encased in concrete, and various other damages accrue. Salt buildup gets into it and whatnot else. But the main problem is that in nature, in the forest ecosystem, the tree is plugged into a network, a mycelial network under the ground that is moving nutrients back and forth. It's being taken care of by the other plants and the animals and the mushrooms around it, and that's why it's able to thrive and survive for as long as it can. But this attitude, this strategy that we have as human beings of separating all things, of making sure everything is clean and basically predictable, orderly, flat, sterile, it is not only detrimental to nature, but it's actually also detrimental to ourselves. Because, yeah, we depend on nature to survive. If we do not have a functional biosphere, we are dead. There's nothing that you can do about it. We're basically on the last legs of our planet here. There's a collapse coming. There's probably nothing we can do to stop it. And the best that we can really hope for is softening the blow. And that's going to mean converting all of these grasses, these lawns and parking lots, and as much of the farm fields as possible back to nature. And I mean like nature. I'm talking like weeds, unsightly stuff, rewilding the world, basically. And yes, that may offend your sensibilities as a white middle-class suburbanite, but we're going to have to. There's no other option. We're going to have to take down the fences. We're going to have to rip up the lawns. We're going to have to plant weeds, i.e. wildflowers, and dedicate much more of the world to nature. Because we are part of nature, and we sterilize nature at our own peril. Anyway, I make videos daily, and so if you enjoy this content, hit the like button, all that algorithmic stuff. Check out some of those videos if you're interested, and maybe you'll like them as well. And I'm going to keep fiddling with this process, and I'll see you tomorrow.